Hi, and welcome to the Your Good News podcast with me, Katherine Getty. It's easy to believe the news around us that the world is dark and the future is the same. But what if we chose something different? What if we chose to find the good news in each day? This podcast is a collection of interviews with friends, mentors, colleagues on their good news. From business to health to politics and everything in between, it's my hope that you leave with a boost and find your good news. Welcome back to another episode of the Your Good News podcast. It is me, your host, Katherine Getty. I am so glad to have you join for the first time or welcome you back for another episode. And as I start every episode, I'm going to start with a dose of good news. So as this episode airs, I am coming back from my home state and it really just warmed my heart. As the saying goes, I feel like I'm Dorothy now, but there's no place quite like home. And I think in the hustle and bustle, I never want to forget where I'm from. I hope sharing this idea makes you think of your home state or a city or a memory that just warms your heart. Or maybe it's a place that now has become your home. And I know not every memory from home is happy. I know that's true for me. But what I offer is an appreciation from where I came from this week for my good news. So let's get into the heart of this episode. Today, I want to delve into the idea of goal setting from a couple different angles. Given the time of year, this episode is first airing in January. So I know that many folks, including myself, are setting both small shifts as well as big, hairy, audacious goals. And so no matter the goals, there's often a point / somewhere along the line where failure feels inevitable. If I'll say air quotes, we fall off track or we decide that we want to change the path forward and adjust the goal. I think both of these notions have flaws, and I want to break down these concepts even more. So I'm going to first start with the idea of falling off track. I think that goals are oftentimes viewed as a linear progression. It's like you start at step 1, you go to step 2, you start at step 3, yada, yada, yada. Rather than that a goal is a path that has ups, downs, plateaus, and everything in between. And that's not only for the emotional side of it, it's also for the actual logistical part of the goal setting process and actually trying to attain those goals. I know I used to believe that goals were a linear progression and it was stifling. It was something that I believed and it had an easy out. It allowed me to say, well, this goal fell apart, so let's just move on. So it's my hope that if we kind of shift this vision of goals, it's a kinder way to move from. It gives us a more holistic view of our goals and it feels more realistic. And I think the shift offers you less stress when you feel like progression is slow or the goal isn't coming to fruition. It offers you an opportunity to adjust, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I think it also offers you more ability to kind of grow and not feel like failure means falling off track. I hate that. I hate when I hear someone say that. Hate is probably a very strong word, but I think it's something that really pushes us into kind of a victim mentality versus owning our story. So as you think about goals, I know we all are, let's be a little bit more honest, be a little more kind, be true to that growth cycle and acknowledge that a path isn't linear. It's a beautiful and sometimes twisty thing. So let's transition to the readjusting goals. I talked a little bit about it as we talked about viewing it in the idea of a path versus a linear progression. But I think readjusting goals, may it be from scrapping the goals or just adjusting the time frame, is important. I think at the outset, I want to say that dreaming and making goals and committing to the goals it all goes hand in hand. Each step is critical. Each needs to be a part of how you kind of goal set. But I also think that having a rigid view of growth creates a tension that doesn't lead to a viable growth development. I think the idea of allowing yourself to reevaluate leads to a better understanding of self. And it is my hope to know that as we set these goals and try and develop, but also know that goals need to live and breathe. Goals need to live and breathe. They don't need to be so rigid that you can't say, because I didn't get to X and Y time frame, that I'm not able to achieve that goal, or maybe I need more time, or maybe I no longer want to achieve that goal. Maybe I got into it and I was like, this doesn't feel right. It is my hope that as we think of goals, that we now frame it from the best place, that we frame it from, does it put me into the best version of myself? Does this goal still serve me to my highest being? I think you got to do a little soul searching on that. For each goal, may it be, I know for myself, I need to floss more. Maybe that's a little goal. Or maybe it's a big goal of running the marathon. You got to take it in bits and pieces and you got to reevaluate. So that is it for today. That's kind of my two ideas that I've been noodling on, both of viewing goals as a path and not linear, as well as the importance of reevaluating in that growth cycle. So thank you again for joining today's episode of the Your Good News podcast. If you liked, please share, subscribe, leave a review. Follow me on Instagram at Katherine Getty for more content on this topic, and join us next week for another episode of the Your Good News podcast.